The last time Sam Ryler's dam spent quality time with his family, he savored every moment, like the first solid food for baby Finn, and just regular old goofing around. This was Christmas, one of the family's rare get-togethers. They have been separated for most of the past year because of COVID border restrictions.
We knew with having a baby that it wouldn't be ideal, being in different countries, but we knew we could make it work. We didn't obviously plan on the border ever being shut down.
Sam is an American, a medic in the National Guard living in Washington State. Katie is a Canadian, a hairstylist living in British Columbia. They're also part of an advocacy group urging Ottawa to extend essential travel status to immediate family members.
I mean, the Canadian government has allowed the exemption of, family being allowed to come over, but who can take 2 weeks off work for quarantine and then time on top of that to visit? Like, it's just not doable.
Flew across that border.
As of now, there are no plans in the works for that to change.
I think we're all going to wait patiently until such a time as the health situation allows us to loosen border restrictions internationally.
After a year, border restrictions remain consistently popular in Canada, even as there have been some headaches. This auto sector leader says rules need to be enforced more consistently after some essential auto workers were ordered to quarantine when returning to Canada.
We expect that we're going to see some substantive clarification in days, and that's very hopeful.
Reed is less hopeful about her situation.
I'm going to get emotional. I miss my husband terribly, and he misses us terribly.
Right now, there's no specific timeline or plan in place to ease restrictions. It remains wait and see. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Washington.
Well, for more on what this year-long border closure has meant, let's connect with two people who live right on the border. Jane McIntyre is in Stanston, Quebec, southeast of Montreal, and she's the owner of Jane's Cafe, which is on the other side in Derby Line, Vermont. And Kaylin Ball is a Canadian who lives in South Surrey, British Columbia. That's next to the U.S. border and Peace Arch Park. Jane, let's start with you. What's it been like for your cafe since the border closed?
It's been much slower, but the business has slowed right down because we're missing our regulars who came in, from the Canadian side, as well as people traveling north, going into Canada for vacations or long weekends, heading for Quebec City or Montreal. So, business has really slowed down.
You're a dual citizen, Jane. What is it like going across the border, which you do, I guess, 5 days a week?
Well, I've always lived in this area, and so it's just a natural thing to have to cross the border almost every time I go anywhere. It's an easy process, a little bit easier, actually, because sometimes in the summer you get lots of traffic, and there's never a line anymore because only people working on the other side can actually cross.
Now, Kaylin, some viewers may remember when I interviewed you a few months ago about that quirky little exception to the border closure, which is going on at Peace Arch Park, so Canadians and Americans can meet and then return home. And you recorded some video of the park earlier today.
Today is a pretty tame day here at the park due to how windy it is. There's only a few tents here, but typically on a sunny day it gets very, very crowded.
So your fiance lives in Baltimore. You guys got together there in the park in the summertime. But tell us how important it's been for people to be able to gather at Peace Arch Park.
Well, after a whole year of border closures, some families have had only this as a way to see each other. So many families, it's been the only way for them to see their spouse or see their children. So I think it's really, we're fortunate to have this little ray of sunshine.
And when I was down there, I saw not only couples, but also families picnicking. Tell me about some of the scenes you've seen, Kaylin.
Yeah, recently I happened to know a couple who were able to, they have a 9-month-old child together. They were able to see them for the first time, that wasn't over FaceTime or video call. There's been people who have started relationships over COVID who have been able to meet for the first time. So there's some really special moments that happen at the park.
Given where your communities are, and Jane, I'll start with you on this, what impact has this border closure had on the community of Stanston?
I think it's been really hard to loan some time for a lot of people with family on both sides, people who haven't seen their kids in months, kids, parents, relatives, friends. We actually have a spot on the border here that people meet. They can't touch, they can't really get together, but they can sit in their lawn chairs in the summer across the way and see each other, at least beside the Haskell Opera House and Library. And a lot of people have done that. We've actually had a couple of weddings there this past summer. So they find ways, but it's difficult.
And Kaylin, Peace Arch Park aside, what has the impact been in your community in South Surrey?
Well, I've seen a lot of businesses that are struggling as well from the lack of, travel across the border. But also in my own life, there's a lot of people struggling with mental health and isolation, and especially even for people like me who are in a cross-border relationship. So there's been a lot of struggles. As well, our local neighborhood has seen a lot of increase in traffic due to the park.
I asked some people on Twitter when they thought the border should reopen. Got a lot of responses, a lot of strong feelings. Want to give you a couple of samples. Teresa McKenzie said, until at least 50% of the population is vaccinated, I think we need to keep it closed and follow the science and experts. And let's go to another tweet. David Kidd said maybe September, once rates are vanishingly low and stable on both sides of the border. Jane, when do you think the border should reopen?
I've had my fingers crossed that we'll be able to get back to some kind of normal times this summer, maybe by July. People have been complying really well with mask wearing and being careful in this area. So I don't know. I think we're just going to have to wait and see how many people are vaccinated, how the vaccination rollouts go, and hopefully it won't be too much longer.
And Kaylin, what are you hoping for in terms of the border reopening?
Well, I'm hopeful we'll be able to see drops in cases so that we can be able to see each other safely on a more normal basis. It's hard to say when I think it's going to happen. It does depend on what the experts say. I'm hoping as well for maybe this summer to be able to do something cross-border, but we'll have to see what the science says.
And Kaylin, let's end on an optimistic note. One thing you do know is that your fiancé in Baltimore is heading to Washington State, and you guys are going to meet at the park.
Yes, we are, for the first time in 6 months, and we're fortunate that we both live alone, so we're able to meet safely. And we're looking forward to seeing him. It's going to be 6 days.
Yeah, I'll bet you are. Kaylin, Jane, thank you very much for speaking with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.